Alright, let's take a look at case study 4, sky replacement. As you can see, this is the script we built up for this shot. The shot has been divided into 5 different sections. We started from the top area here. As you can see, section 1 preparations. The comp starts from section 2. Then after that, section 3 is about creating a mat. This group of sections is to deal with keying. Then after that, fixing some issues left by the key, such as reflections on the helmet and on the car. Then after that is to add LED wrap and also to finish the camera projection for the damaged road. When the back moves to certain areas, it's going to a sort of S-curve, kind of trying to avoid something. So based on the storytelling, if we can add something which can interact with the biker, the story is going to be more interesting. So that is why with this idea we projected this damaged road. Then after that is to add further details, for instance lens flare and also light beam. Then eventually we end up in here. This is the final output. Between sections, we have 2 types of connections linked by the curves. The brown curves are clones. The green ones are expressions and linked for different nodes. 1.1 section is to deal with a sky image which we filmed separately, and the reason for that is because the visual effects task is to get the sky replaced. For now, the sky is looking a little bit boring. With that in my mind, I decided to capture a separate sky which is more interesting. Then after that, because the camera and lenses and settings are totally different compared to the original plate. So the first thing is to remove film grain from the image. Then after that, remove the lens distortion from this image because we used different camera and lenses and settings. If we don't care about these details, we integrate this image into the live action footage, then eventually in the final composition, you will have different film grain and lens distortion being integrated into one composition, which is wrong. So the first step is to remove film grain. Then after removing the film grain from the plate, for the lens distortion, as you can see here, I used exactly the same camera and settings and lenses, filmed this checkerboard. Then after that, I used the lens distortion node to get rid of lens distortion from the lens grade. Before, you can kind of say it's more like a pin cushion lens distortion. It's shrinking a little bit. Then after, it's getting straight to those vertical lines. Then after that, I used a clone node and use this node to remove the lens distortion before, after. With the noise removed and lens distortion removed as well, then we can write this one out. We're doing scene tracking, not object tracking. So in the scene, if you see any moving elements, before 3D camera tracking, we need to mask them out, with some rough roto shapes. Luckily, in this case, we've got a mat created for the biker. We erode it, like really rough mat around the biker, then copy this mat into the original plate. Then after that, a couple of rough roto shapes are created, as you can see on the left. We also need to remove lens distortion before 3D camera tracking. After that is about 3D camera tracking. So the first one is camera tracker node. If I quickly show you the result, you can clearly see the blue camera is extracted from the shot. And we also see some tracking points along the right-hand side of the street. These are from those cars and also the building and also those treetops. So that is the tracking result. We only need one single frame. The reason for that is because we want to get this single frame as a reference and later to film a broken road image. We used a frame hold to hold 2380, which is around here in this area. Then write it out as a single image, later used for matching the perspective of the camera. Subsection 1.4 used the reference image we extracted as a reference to match the camera perspective. Then eventually we land up this image like this. Later will be used for camera reprojection. This is the background plate without film grain and lens distortion contained. Because this plate is roughly about 6K, in order to align with the original plate, we need to reformat it, turn the 6K plate into the original aspect ratio of the live action plate, which is 1280 by 640. After the reformat node, we used two transform nodes. The first transform node is to scale up this image a little bit to fit better with our original background plate. The second transform node is animated slightly to add a little bit more interest to this image. So these two combined transform nodes also make sense in terms of node concatenations. After that, we used 3 different grid nodes. Eventually, this image matched slightly better with the color graded version of the background plate. Then after that, the image has been placed on a card in the 3D space. We copied the extracted camera and use this camera to film the sky. Eventually, we get something like this. And also, remember, we need to apply the original lens distortion information to this image. That's the reprojected sky. This is a mini version inside the additive key to blend the foreground and background together. Also, we need to apply the original film grain extracted from the live action plate to this image. This is the final blended image. In section 3, we started the original background plate, and following the arrow here, this whole group is about keying. Then before keying, obviously, we need to denoise the plate. After that, you can clearly say in section 3.2, it's about creating matte for the treetops on the left-hand side of the road. If I increase the gain slider, the color in the sky is not even. Here is much brighter than the bottom area. So if you key the trees, the color variations will not give you a good result. So the idea is to separate different parts of the trees, then key them differently. Eventually, when we created all the mattes for different bits and pieces of the trees, then we can combine them together as a whole matte. Because the tree is moving, so before any keying operations, the first thing is obviously denoise it. Then after that, we use the tracker node to track the movement of the trees. Then after that, use the data to drive the different rotor shapes. We have 4 groups of separations. We divided this tree into 4 different portions. 1, 2, 3, 4 by using 4 different rotor nodes. Then after that, we start to key it by using 4 different keys. Same concept has been used for other portions. We key the tree and apply a grid node and use a rotor node to isolate this portion of the trees. For instance, 1, 2, then we combine them together. And this is another one, combine them together. Then eventually we created a matte for the tree tops. Something similar has been used for the right hand side of the tree tops here. A keyer node is used and also a grid node is applied to increase the contrast of the matte and use a rotor to isolate the tree tops. Then after that, 3.4 section is to create matte for the buildings. We use the key light to key the sky. My concentration is on the profile of the treetops and the buildings. If I press the letter A, switch to the alpha channel, right? I don't want to go it too harsh. I still can see some semi-transparent areas, a slightly softer matte. At this stage, I don't really care about the treetops on the left and right, but only on this area, the profile of the buildings and treetops on the horizon. Alright, there is another key light used for this part of the bridge. That's the result for this area, and also the result for the major part of these treetops. 3.5 is about combining mats we created so far. This is a mat for the left and right treetops. We combine this mat with the mat we created only for the tree profile and building profiles. Then we combine them together. Now the mat is created, however, the inner section of the mat, as you can see from the bottom image here, we have those black holes. We need to fix them. In this case, we just use a simple rotor node to create a sort of garbage mat to cover all the black holes. This is the final combined mat. However, if you have noticed, the reflection area on the helmet has lost a little bit. I'm going to fix those areas later in the following sections. A final version of the mat is created, even it's not perfect. Now we're going to copy this mat, use a copy node from the alpha channel into the alpha channel of the plate which has been color graded. Different nodes serves for different purposes. In case if you need further changes later, you can do them separately rather than you get one result from a single node. Any new updates will have to deal with new operations. Then after that, a pre-mod node to remove the sky. We're going to put this result on top of the projected sky image. The beauty of using the additive key is to restore all the fine details, for instance from the treetops, back to the composition. In section 4, it is time to fix all those issues, as you can see here. For instance, the reflections on the helmet, some semi-transparent issues caused by the black hole here in the mat. So this area need to be fixed from the color-graded plate without alpha. We made two branches. One is for fixing the helmet, one is for fixing the car roof. This area requires a pixel-accurate rotor, especially for the roof area, and also is animated, as you can see if I switch to the alpha channel. Then after that, you rotate a little bit, blur it a little bit, then pre-mod. For fixing the helmet, we made a branch. We used the original mat created for this character. Eventually, we've got this character restored. We got this car roof restored. Then eventually, we put them on top of this result, semi-transparent area. So these two areas are fixed. The light wrap effect is created based on this blended image here. As you can see, it's quite strong light. Then after that, we create this one. Then we put this on top of this result, before and after. In 5.2 subsection, is reproject the damaged road surface. This is the PSD we created in the preparation section. We color graded and matched it slightly better to the original live action footage, which can be seen here, nicely matched. Then after that, we clone these 4 color grading nodes, turn the color like this. Then this need to be matched with here the plate. Then after that, to rotate only this area because that's the area I'm interested. Reprojection camera is done by these 2 cameras, a yellow one and a blue one. If we get into the 3D space, the yellow one is copied. We use this yellow camera to reproject the road, as you can see here. Then after the reprojection is finished, we use the blue one. It's exactly the same camera we duplicated from subsection 1.2. And this camera is extracted from the original live action footage. And use this animated camera to refilm the road, which was projected by this static camera. Then after that, we got a result like this. Because it's reprojected, we also have motion vector generated. That's the motion. We can use this motion vector data eventually to blur the image. We also need to apply the film grain to it. We need to unpremultiply it, then apply the film grain, then premultiply it again. Then after that, we need to reapply the original lens distortion, which was extracted from live action plate. Okay, so that's the result. After the lens distortion is applied, integrate this patch on top of this result. If we take a look at the result is applied, that's the result we created so far, but it's not finished. Then after that, we also used 2 color grading nodes, creating the mood based on the storytelling. This section, we also added lens flare effects. We used a tracker node to track the highlights of the bike. Then after that, use the data to drive a rotor node which was created for this area. As the biker moves, this rotor follows the highlights. Based on this result, we add a little glow to it, put it on top of this result. I think that looks natural because it's almost pointing towards the camera. You're supposed to see a little bit glow on it. We also use the same data for the tracker to drive the flare. If I show you the flare created, that is before and after. If you see the sky is still relatively bright, so the glow and the flare shouldn't be very strong.